Hello, everybody. How are you doing today? I hope all is well on this fine Monday. So, we have a wonderful guest today. Her name is Donna, and she is a vet and therapist too. And she just has all this awesomeness going on. She's helping build a app to help veterans, essentially receive fellow veterans on the other end. Because you'll hear throughout the whole thing, I'm a civilian, I don't understand. And she talks about how the vets take their lives, but yet if a fellow vet talks to them, usually can get them off the cliff because it's a familiar voice and all that. And I'm like, I'm a civvy. I don't understand what that means. So, it's going to be an awesome, chat. Yeah. So before I start stammering it like a fool, let's get right into it.
Welcome to the Josh Bolton Show, where we dive into interesting and inspiring conversations. And now, your host, Josh Bolton.
Hello.
Hi, how are you doing, Josh?
Good, and yourself?
I'm doing good. Good morning.
Good morning. Been a busy morning? Good morning?
You know, it's a good morning. I usually, like I said, on the weekends, I like to sleep in just a little bit longer. The weekdays, I'm up pretty early and stay up kind of late these days because we're preparing for our release of our battle buddies.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious, what's late for you?
Late is about 1 o'clock in the morning for me.
Oh, sorry. Late sleeping in.
Yeah. Well, like late sleeping in is probably about 8:30.
Okay.
About 9.
I would say most vets I've talked to, when they're used to the 5:30, 6 o'clock regime.
Yeah.
They're like going to 7:30. We're like, we feel like we've done something terrible today.
Yeah, absolutely. But the thing is, like I said, in my military life, so I usually stay up very late. So it used to be where when I got out, I would be up until about 3 or 4, and that was normal for me. And then sleeping for about, a couple hours and then getting up, so, yeah, but like I said, I've been out for about 2 years now. And so the clock is kind of a lot. I mean, I'm going to bed a little bit earlier.
Good. It's also healthier too, to go to bed a little earlier too.
Yes, it is. It is. How are you doing? What about you?
Doing pretty good on this fine Saturday. Actually, we've just been putting around the room, getting some stuff done. And then, was talking with the family, and they're like, you don't usually do Saturdays? I'm like, well, there's a special lady today.
Oh, so how long you been having your podcast, Josh?
So I started about a year ago.
Okay. And are you with iHeart or?
I'm on everything.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
The first to be able to be on everything. How hard is it just to get on to every single, whatever, TV platform or radio platform?
Are you thinking of doing something for yourself?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
I was just kind of wondering. We used to have a podcast. It's just, it was just so tired. For us, it was just hard to constantly keep getting guests and just to kind of keep booking. We needed to hire another person to do that.
Oh yeah. No, that's my biggest problem lately, is getting people to come on. In general, that's where when I saw you were new to the matchmaker, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna hit her up.
I actually have another colleague of mine who's also doing, he's doing a military documentary around mental health. Yeah, and I'll definitely, maybe after our interview, I can definitely give you his information. You can reach out and then you can send him a link. His name is Jared, and he's a cinematographer. He owns a production company, and so the thing is, they're reaching out to us to do like a military documentary, and gathering some of the veterans and and really just having them tell their story in terms of when they started. And, when they, during their service time, and then when they got out. So
has he filled up the docket, like the 10 soldiers he wanted to talk to or something?
Yes. Does he want more? I mean, do you have anybody else?
I'm thinking William, the SEAL I had on early, would be a good one.
Yeah, absolutely. Send him over. We would love to interview, we would love to interview him. Is it William Brennan or something like that?
Brennan or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely send him over to us for sure. But I would love for you to interview Jared. He's, like I said, great great set of eyes with his, cinematography and recording and stuff like that, filming and stuff like that. So he will be starting to film our veterans probably around next month or something in the middle, mid-February.
Perfect. Yeah. I'll, when we change all the information, I'll send over his info for you too.
Yeah.
I would say you probably would have a better copy to send to William than I would. I'll be like, William, there's a bunch of vets doing a documentary to help vets out. And he'll be like,
if you don't mind, like I said, I mean, if you don't mind, you can just give me his information and I'll reach out to him. That's not a problem. It's a lot easier with veteran to veteran.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
I'm just that kind of middleman that like, I kind of know what you've gone through, but I don't know the mindset or everything.
Do you have anybody, friends or colleagues or anybody that is in the military or served in the military? Or
so both my grandparents, both grandfathers, one was during the Korean War and he was in the shit of it all. He doesn't really talk about it. Well, he's dead too. But also my father's father, he was a medical field medic, but it was during a non-active wartime. So he mainly just patched up anyone that came to the base. And he's like, he jokingly said, the Army kind of paid me to do my track and field. So couldn't complain.
It's, like I said, some have never deployed and, some have gone on multiple deployments to the Middle East. So it's definitely pretty scary out there.
It is. This one old man, his name's Don up in Washington. He's like the old seabird of the family. We all have one. And essentially like he was talking, and this is back when his like the ear ringing from the steering wheel wasn't that bad. So he smokes like a chimney. The dude's like 80 and it looks like he's preserved at 50 permanently. Drinks a pot of coffee a day, like 5 pipes a day. And he went out to smoke and he flinched more than usual. And I said, "Hey, Don, what's wrong?" And he's like, "Oh, nothing. Sorry. Just light a little too quick in the eyes." And he kind of like I don't know how to fully explain it. You can just see it in the back of the eye that something's ringing in the wrong way.
Yeah.
And I told him like, "No, you're lying to me. What's going on?" He's like, "Oh, well, I every time I blink, I see my boys burning in front of me." And I said, "Wait, when did you serve again?" He's like, "Near the end of Korea when it was the end of Vietnam when the Vietnam figured out napalm." And he's
never,
like,
those images never go away, Josh, and so obviously I was never in the Middle East. I was deployed, but it wasn't to, like to Kabul and Fallujah. When those guys talk about Ramadi and they're talking about Fallujah, they're in the thick of things, and it's the most dangerous places in the world. My brother-in-law was in Fallujah and, and also Kabul and things like that. And he's got bad PTSD and anger issues. I get it, but it's just, there's some portion of these veterans that that refuse to get help or don't believe in therapy. Those images that you see doesn't go away. It's just like ingrained in your brain forever.
It is. And I guess, so for me, I somehow reached through him. In my aunt's 50 years of knowing her father, he never talked about the war. Yet that brief moment, he talked more about it than she has ever heard in her life. And all I told him was like, "Hey, your boys, if they could, they're probably in heaven or just left of heaven. And they're in Brazil with the beautiful women, drinking their rum, having their fun. But if they knew you were suffering, they challenge the devil himself and ensure they win to drag you out of hell." I'm like, let them enjoy their beautiful Brazilian women and their rum right now. Let them rest. I know they will never fully go away, but just let them rest. The more you think about them, the more they technically kind of like live on suffering like that. And he did. He still sees it, but he even sees, like, he told me last time I just went up, he's like, "Thank you." Like, I still see him, but I try to think of them less so they can have their beautiful women and stuff. I'm like, as long as it works.
Yeah. And I also, like I said, I also want to tell you that on January the 20th, the House in Washington, D.C., they voted on a bill, and it's called the EVEST Act, and it stands for Every Veteran with an Easy, Smooth Transition.
Okay.
And that now they're upon their separation from the military, they're mandated to be service connected through the VA to make sure that they have proper health care, and also provide mental health care through the VA too as well. So it's mandated. And our battle buddy, we're hoping, if the bill passed, that we're going to be linked to that too as well, so that every single separating soldier, upon, separation, will have this app on their phone so that they never feel like they're alone. During transition time from military life to the civilian world is a very stressful time, and it's a very risky time for them too as well. And so, again, these guys have been, serving for many years and been on that train, have a mission, have a purpose. And now they've separated and everything is taken away from them, and so again, this is the cause of, substance abuse, domestic violence, homelessness, and the high suicide rate. And so, this act, it's a $3.1 billion, for a contract for the next 5 years. And so if it's approved and Biden signs it, and then we'll be linked to that. And again, every single soldier who separates from the military will have this app on their phone, and know that they can press a button and have their battle buddies there with them, during any situation, that may arise for them. So.
No, that's very important. Yeah, like our earlier call, it's extremely important. I'm sorry, I just smiled because I was thinking of William, and he told me the same thing. And he's like, I'm like, told him, what's the hardest part of service, or like the part that we civilians don't see? He's like, leaving. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, because they don't train you to be a good civilian. They train you to be a good soldier, and I kick you out in civilian life. I'm like,
yeah.
I said, oh, interesting. Wouldn't it be smart? I said, I mean, the military is the military. They plan out stuff so far. Wouldn't it say like the last month and a half, they kind of like recondition you sort of? He's like, it'd be smart. Would it be cost effective? Probably not. So I'm like, interesting.
Yeah. And so the things, the military try to do the best, that you have a 5-day training.
That's why I said a month and a half. I was trying to be like,
It's not even a month and a half. It's 5 days, and you go through this transition training with finance and, getting set up in terms of, what civilian life is, getting connected to, certain organizations. But now we're going to make it mandatory that they are service connected through, through a VSO, which is like a veteran service officer at every, and they're located at every different sites, at the VA. And so, and they can also link them, the veterans up to the services that they need. And again, do we have to catch them early, because if we let them go transition them out, this is why we have the high, veteran, homelessness. We got domestic violence. We got, really high substance abuse, drug use, alcoholism among our veterans. And we got the most highest suicide rate right now. It's beyond 22 a day. It's about 25, 26 a day. And during COVID, it was like 30 something a day because of more isolation. And they are very stubborn. They don't ask for help, especially the Marines. They're so stubborn.
They are so stubborn.
They are very stubborn. And so, again, this Battle Buddy app serves as, and when we start recording, it serves 3 things. My experience, I've been a psychotherapist for almost 15 years, and 10 of those years was the military. And my second duty was as a mental health therapist. And my first duty was operational planning, for the medical side. But, what I saw was, like I said, their PTSD is really bad, and they shut down, and they aren't able to really get the help that they need. It's overwhelming for them, and so this Battle Buddy, this, app, allows them to press a button and they can talk to a familiar voice, which is their brothers and sisters. And it's going to, we're going to help them calm themselves down, and address the PTSD and the mental illness. That button also takes away the stigma, because a lot of times you tell a veteran or any service member to go reach for help, they'll look at you like, no way, fuck you. Because
I'd rather climb Everest and do that.
Yeah, it's a sense of weakness for them, because we're not trained that way. We're trained to be warriors, and asking for help is a sign of weakness, or someone's going to die, pretty much. And so it takes away that stigma right there, and and knowing that they can just press that button, we're here for them. They're not bothering us or anything like that. And then the last thing is that, it's to really give them hope, when they hear that familiar voice, and, like me, or, William, or another veteran, like, hey, you got this, hang tight. Okay. We're going to get you the help that you need. it's more promising. There's another app, that has come out already that's very similar to us, and he's a veteran too, Aaron Quinones. You should interview him too. He's pretty amazing.
Okay.
But he has a research team, and his app has been out for a little bit longer than we're launching ours in March, but his is not free, but everything on his app is very similar to us in a sense where, again, it's a press of a button and they have their battle buddies there for them. And he has a research team behind him, and is found to be 100% certain, survival rate with zero I always have a hard time saying this word, recidivism, which means that, there's, 0% recidivism just means that there's no reoccurrence in relapses, meaning like, you're not going to see them, go back and do something, like wanting to hurt themselves in any way possible. So there's no relapses, from their research with this app, knowing that when they are in their darkest moments, they can reach out to us, versus going to drink or, do self-destructive things pretty much.
Yeah. So I'm loving all this, and I can't find a good point to cut it. Can we go into more details of the things you're doing with the app?
Well, the app, like I said, is going to be released, March 1st. And so, what we're doing is we're going to try to get, connected with all the different facilities, nationwide, the VAs, and making sure that they have this app and, connecting with the VSO. And VSO stands for Veteran Service Officers, and they're located at different, veteran facilities. And so with this app, again, it serves three purpose. Mainly is to address the PTSD. When we have a distressed, veteran who is overwhelmed with symptoms of PTSD or their mental illness, they can press that button, and we as their brothers and sisters, their armed brothers and sisters, can come on board and just really, just like I said, calm them down and really aid them to get the professional help that they need.
Now, this is just devil advocacy or just questions. What happens if someone at 3 a.m. is calling and there might not be someone at least actively behind the button? Or is there like a schedule of people?
That's kind of the thing that we're still working out, because, we don't want to overexhaust our mentors. They're all veterans. Right. And so they need to sleep too as well. And so we are thinking of bringing in, an outside crisis, a service for momentarily until we can find enough veterans who's willing to do, the graveyard shift, and cover that. But right now, since our release in March, probably during the graveyard shift, which is from, 2 a.m. until about 6, we're probably going to bring in an outside service team. And if it's a crisis matter and the veteran is requesting for one of us will be on hand and be readily available for them. Only, if it's a crisis.
Right. Yeah. I mean, like I work night shift, so but I'm not a vet, so it's not like I could be of any help anyways. And most people don't work night shift anyways. Most normal people, at least. And yeah, it's a brutal time frame, because that's when we should be sleeping.
Yes, but those are the most, like our veterans will probably have the most difficult time in the evenings, and probably, at 1 o'clock in the morning, at 3 o'clock in the morning. And so we're fully aware of that. But right now, like I said, we do have a mentor team, a veteran mentor team, going through the training this tomorrow. And so, but the thing is, we need to really kind of ask them, how realistic, they're willing to want to do the graveyard shift. And this is an all volunteer position, because all of them have day jobs too, as well, and so we need to kind of carve that out, where we're thinking that we're going to bring on an outside service. And if it's a non-crisis, that they can, get the information, and at, as early as 6 o'clock in the morning, we will get back to them. But if it's a crisis, one of our clinical teams will probably be on hand, and that they can reach out to us, and we will definitely make sure we call this veteran back.
Yeah. Or I want to say, or it's the kind of crisis event where it's like, metaphorically, you'd be getting a call at 3 a.m, like, this vet, he's sitting there with a gun. We can't talk him off the ledge. Can you? Is that something that would happen?
Yeah. I've had that, like I said, in my 15 years career, there are times when I'm in a session and I will get a call from a veteran, and he's at the river or he's at the railroad track or something like that. And we have no fucking idea where the hell he's at. Like, which railroad track are you at? So with this app too as well, we have the ability to be able to ask permission from the veteran to turn on their locator, and to be able to locate where the heck, we initially, when we set up this app, we were just going to make it mandatory that if they press the red button, which is the crisis button, that immediately the GPS will go on. However, with certain phones, you need to have permission from the user.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, especially an iPhone, you can't, but with Androids, you can. So to make it consistent across the board, we're going to ask for permission if they can turn on, if it's a crisis. And if they're at the railroad track, at the river, at the bridge, whatever it is, we're going to ask if they can turn on their GPS locator.
I think, because I have Android, the newest edition, from at least Android, when you click it, it'll say only while using the app, forever, like kind of thing. And I think it's similar for iPhones. I'm not familiar, but what I know is if you ask for permission right out of the gate, like, hey, for X amount of, for this reason, we need your location, and they agree, then it's all good. You never have to ask for it again.
Yeah, but you're absolutely. But our veterans are just like, oh my God, they're, I adore them. I'm a veteran myself, but some of them are just stubborn, and they're gonna like fuck you, pretty much. No, they really don't have a lot of, especially the new ones that just transition out. They still have this military mentality and fear. They have no fear about anything, even like dying. I mean, and so it's just like it takes about a year or two, about a good 2 years for them to kind of calm themselves down. That's why it's so stressful. And it's really, when I say risky, when you have, a soldier transitioning from a military life into a civilian life, it's like they're not trained for that. And so we have to come in and, guide them along, and it needs to be veterans, or someone who's served, because, another chief complaint is that, the veterans, it's like, I'm not calling the suicide hotline because it's run by civilians. And then the veteran suicide hotline is closed on holidays because it's they're federal holidays.
Yeah.
And then they've complained to me about that. They're like, why, it's like, Donna, why would they have this effing, hotline here when they're closed on holidays? That's probably and it is true that it's the time when they need it the most,
No, because just thinking statistically, that would be when they would need it the most.
Yes. But they are rerouted. Like I said, they are rerouted to the public suicide hotline, the national suicide hotline. It doesn't really help because, again, it's if it's going to be a veteran suicide hotline, can, at least hire veterans, at least, be open during the holidays.
Yeah.
I brought that up. It's not going to work. It's, it's a government, it's a federal government holiday, Christmas, Thanksgiving, so it's not going to fly.
No, no. It's like, for me, I'm learning trading and all that. And we just had a recent one. I think it was it's whatever the one earlier this month, and I'm just sitting there going, why? There's no reason for this. Why are you closed, kind of thing? And I'm like, oh wait, the government. They want their day off.
Yeah. So yeah, absolutely. But I'm ready to record anytime, and whatever questions you want to ask, or and like I said, it's the main topic about our battle buddies, right? And so of course.
Well, I'm gonna say that the whole time it's been recording. That's what I was saying. I can't find a spot.
I wasn't aware of that.
It didn't give you a notification. It usually does.
No, it didn't on this one for me.
Interesting. You might be an older Zoom then. Because a lot of my people were like joking, like, "Oh, okay, we don't want you to record us," and they hit the OK button.
Yeah, but absolutely, yeah, but like I said, I really want to make sure that, the viewers and the listeners know, one of the biggest things for our veterans, when a soldier separates and become a veteran, there is training, for being a soldier, being a warrior. But there is really no training in terms of being, transitioning from the military into the civilian world. And and that's why it's so difficult for them. This is why in the initial beginning during that transition is stressful for them, is very risky for them too, as well, and because again, they have this camaraderie, they've got this whole team behind them. They're brothers, they're sisters, and, we're very tightly, close to each other. And so, and part of the reason why we call each other our brothers and sisters is because, when we're out on the battlefield, if let's just say, something blows up and we know one of our soldiers, one of our teammate is, under fire and things like that, you'll see 8 or 9 of us running in and risking our lives just to protect one. And that's just how closely we are, and that's how we're built, and that's why we're so successful on the battlefield. And so here, when they transition, that's all taken away from them, their brothers, their sisters, their mission, their purpose in life. And you throw them into the civilian world, which is a totally new, different culture for them. They don't understand a 9-to-5 job. That doesn't work for us. They don't understand like a 30-hour lunch break. That's not that's not us. You get 10 minutes, you're lucky if you can have 10 or 15 minutes, eating time. And so very different, if you give a soldier, 4 tasks, they'll get it done in about 2 hours. Versus in the civilian world, they do 9 to 5, and
they try to drag out the 4 tasks for 4 days.
Yeah, it doesn't. That's just, and they'll, for a soldier, they'll be done by, let's just say they start at 9, they'll be done at 11. Mm-hmm. And so for the civilian folks, it's like that 9 to 5 where they'll have a couple projects and they'll get done at 5 and take like 2 breaks, and then that's again, this is an example of how different the culture is in the military versus the civilians. So it's a very hard, transition at the beginning, especially for the ones that's, served 10, 15, 20 years.
Yeah.
That's all they know.
No, it's very true. I'm just thinking for me, because I've studied martial arts for 15 years. That's where I'm like, I'm familiar with the concept, the regime, the patterns, the mindset, but I'm like, I haven't been in the field, so I can't be like, oh, I know what you're talking about. But that is one I know is you could give a 10 task normal person to take 8 hours, they'll have it done in 3. And to be sitting there like, that's it? That's all you want it done? Like, really? Can I get my money and go home now? And that was like my instructor. Again, we haven't served in the same way, but he would run us the same way. We had a Marine vet. Now looking back with hindsight, I have to give him some leeway, but essentially a hydraulic. He was a light tank scout, and he was the wasn't the gunner, but he was I think he was like the loader for the gun, and the whole, like, the tank blew up, all his crew died, but the hydraulics just went in his lung. VA gave him some really weird experimental steroids to get over it. Really weird. Some days he'd be giddy as a kid, and then some days he'd be beyond raging. And this is where I have to give him some leeway looking back now, because I was a cocky kid, and being a Marine, he said, "Oh, do as I say," and I'm like, "Fuck you, old man," kind of thing. And he pretty much pulls me aside, says, "I will kill you right now." And so I just like, "Hey, I need to take a piss," kind of thing. And it's one of those, I actually grabbed my knife because because the roids really kicked in. I'm like, he's going to hurt my father. I'm thinking, do I really need to end him right now before he hurts my own man? And then finally he said something, and I put my knife away. Because see, I'm saying it lightly. It was intense. And that's where he's doing fine now, by the way. He's in Florida. The post office kicked him out because he was white. Sad to say, but he has a successful sales job, making good money. But the food thing you mentioned, I was always an eager kid, and I ate quick. I was much bigger, big. I was eating way too many carbs, not exercising enough. And so he noticed I would buy a foot-long sub, chips, and a soda, and I'd finish it within like 7 minutes. And he bought a whole pie. So he's trying to eat a whole pizza while I'm eating a sub. And I halfway through his pizza, he's like, "Oh man, I didn't finish it fast enough. Back in the day, I could have finished this whole pie in 5 minutes." I'm like, "Yeah, but also back then you barely had time to take a shit too."
Yeah.
So I'm like, "Here, if you really need to go to the restroom, go for it," kind of thing. And he's like, "Oh, it's just hard to get out of that mindset." He's like, "It's also just kind of competition. I see you going fast. I want to beat you."
Yeah, it's like, like I said, there's a lot of competition, but it's all good. I mean, it's really just, like I said, when I got out 2 years ago, now I joined, later in my life, I was more established. I had my, career, I had my private practice, and so I was doing well successfully. I wanted to give back because I came from a semi-military family. My brother-in-law, was also, serving too, and all of his family served for, many decades too. And so again, I wanted to give back, but, I already had my civilian world settled and everything like that set up, and when I joined the military, I found a new family, and I truly believe that, that is also, just what grounded me, what taught me, what allowed me to be able to be stronger and to be, the best version that I can be, because, it's like, there's no bullshit. You got to suck it up. Especially, like I said, I wasn't exactly out on the battlefield, but I trained a lot. I was on stateside and just been at different compounds and different bases. We did a lot of simulation. We did a lot of training, where the compound is set up like a battlefield. And training these medics and training these, doctors to, make sure that they're saving lives when they're deployed. So.
Yeah, no, it's very true. Again, it's I have a grasp, but I don't know what actually is entailed with all that. But that is the biggest one from the different vets I've talked to. Like, there's one of them said it in a very, very graceful way of a Marine. He pretty much said, the way they train us, even if you hate there's always that one guy everyone wants to hate and wants to beat up. But when he's like, when shit hits the fan, though, even though you hate him, he will come and help you.
Yeah. And the thing is, Josh, absolutely. It's like, you can dislike each other, and it's happened to us as well, as especially, being in the Army, females, female veterans with female veterans. My gosh, sometimes there is a lot of, just a lot of just drama, but again, at the end of the day, we got each other's back. We're always here for each other. And that's what the Battle Buddy is about. I have this team, where, they are absolutely committed, whatever I say, it's like, they're there and they show up. And that's the mentality. I know I can trust them. I know that they're going to do a great job in taking care of our, our new, soldiers who are separating from the military or whoever's calling in. And so, they're also placed in teams too as well. And just like in the military, we're placed on teams like squads and platoons. And so, and the reason why why I'm doing the same thing here with them is because accountability. I know that if I put them in a squad or in a team together, that, if one of them falls, all of them is going to come in and pick them up, so that's the camaraderie. That's just the relationship. And, it's just known. It's not something we even talk about during our meetings or anything like that. It's like, right. We got you, Donna, and, we're here for, our vets, our veterans, to take care of them. They, the ones that are doing well, the ones that want to give back are on my team. And they've been doing a fabulous job. And they not just only working with my Battle Buddy app, but also they're also in the community, inspiring other veterans and, lifting them up and, taking on different projects and making sure that they're giving back in other capacities, and, helping our armed force community.
So one thing that was mentioned to me, I'm pretty sure you could better clarify it or give more nuanced details. The one that a vet told me is usually what a lot of soldiers do when they get out of service is they actually go to the police, but they specifically try to go into the fields work because he's like, sad to say, cops are pretty much always in a war zone, so it's very familiar. He's like,
Yeah.
or they go for SWAT.
Yeah.
And he's like, usually when they do that, they're fine. It's familiar territory. So he was right then.
Yes, he is. A lot of times our soldiers who transitions out of the military, you'll see them going into law enforcement, the LAPD, firefighters, anything that is like, of high adrenaline. There's some danger behind that. They love those stuff. Again, they own a lot of guns. They love anything with guns. My brother-in-law, owns a lot of weapons. All my veterans have weapons. So it's very, very common, again, because they're so acclimated to that. And that most likely because of also their experience, that will be something that they will transition into, when they get out. It's really rare, that you'll see a soldier who's like a combat medic or, someone who's like a sniper who gets out of the military and gets a 9-to-5 job who is like, that's really not.
I can't see that. No, that is too much of a high rush. As terrifying and horrifying the job is, that is a rush though.
Yeah.
And to go to work for B of A, pushing papers, and when you could even a metaphorical story, you see your own brother on the name and you're like, no, you would try to go around, circumvent the system, get yourself in trouble. So it's, I maybe something like if it's a veteran owned business or like trash hauling, then I could see the best. It's a mundane job, but it's like we're all brothers in this, so we all don't kind of thing.
And it's really tight too as well. Again, this team that I have as far as my veteran mentors, I've kind of hand selected them because I've worked with them before and I know, how inspiring they are and helping other veterans. So I trust them fully and I know that they're going to do an amazing job. I know this Battle Buddy app is going to be, it's going to be a game changer. We're not going to cure suicide. We're not going to cure homelessness. Those are things that is still going to exist. Yeah. But I'm hoping, like I said, the numbers are going to go down drastically. I do believe, once when this app gets released, whoever uses it, our goal is to make sure that it's 100% survival rate at all times. And this is why, again, this really just goes back to, making sure that our team is strong and they look after each other, and that, anybody who calls in 30 days after their initial call, one of that veteran who took that call to support this, distressed, vet, we'll follow up and make sure that he or she is getting the help that they need.
That's good. That's another one. Like, you can probably talk them off the cliff, but it's like, you don't know if they're going to go back to it. And that's where the follow-up is very important.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the most important thing, Josh, is just knowing that we're here for them, because a lot of times, and I ask my guys all the time, and so, or sometimes they're doing something really unsafe. And I'm just like, why did you not call me? And they're like, well, I know you're busy and I don't want to bother you. The truth is, yes, I am busy, but I'm just like, look, if you're in distress and your PTSD is highly activated, you can call me, and, I've done, we've done group chats, we've done, whatever it is. But I think it's that stigma right there of asking for help, and that, and fearing or thinking that they're a burden. And so they don't ever want to feel that way. And so again, this Battle Buddy app, it's just that, there's that button right there. We designed this button for you. You're not bothering us. We will stand here readily, whenever you need us, we're here for you. And so, and we keep pushing that, and making sure that they understand in their minds that reaching for help is really just, again, it's okay. I asked my veterans, I'm just like, if you're in the battlefield and you are getting ambushed, right from left, and the Talibans are coming in, and you have that opportunity to press that button for airstrike, would you do that? And they're like, yeah, same concept here.
Mm-hmm.
Your PTSD is, taking over. It's almost like an ambush for you. You can press that button right there and we will come in and we will help you. You're not alone. So I've been telling them that, and they've been very excited about the Battle Buddy app too as well. I'm just like, you just press that button. It's almost like you're out in the battlefield. There's that button for, to call an airstrike. You would do that. You wouldn't even think twice.
Right.
So why would you even be hesitant about asking for help here? Oh, it's different, Donna. And, it's like, everybody's busy and they wouldn't want to hear my problems. Same thing, you're shutting down.
Yeah.
You're thinking about, hurting yourself. So again, we're really, this Battle Buddy is really pushing for that. It's so important that it focus on addressing the PTSD. We're here for them. We're also taking away that stigma. It's like, no, we're here for you. You're not bothering us. We got you. We got your six. And then the last thing is making sure that, a familiar voice like ours is going to give them that hope. And if they have hope, they're going to fight for things.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. When I'm going to probably butcher it, but I think it's like when you take away hope, there is no reason to fight. But if there's even just a sliver of hope, it's everything we're fighting for.
I totally agree. Absolutely agree with you. So, yeah. But again, we're very excited in March, it's going to be released. We've been working on this for about 2 years already with a company called Flint Avenue in Texas. And so their heart and soul is into this too as well. There were months where our charity was not able to really pay them and they still continue to work endlessly, on this app for us and not turning our backs on, our heroes and supporting them. So
that's how you have a good noble cause, is when a company is willing to do it for free.
Yeah, absolutely. They, it's just remarkable. And without Flint Avenue, we would not even be here today. And so, and again, the next step is waiting for this bill to pass, the EVEST, Act, which stands for every veteran, who exits, who leaves the military will have a smooth transition. And that includes making sure that they get, invested and also, registered, with the VA near their home of residency. And they also have an app, our Battle Buddy app linked to this too as well. So they know that they can reach out to us at any time.
What's the acronym for that act again?
It's EVEST, and it's it stands for ensuring every veteran, who exits the military, will have a smooth transition. So ensuring veterans, exiting, with a smooth transition act.
Awesome. I'm just going to the Congress one and just putting a notification to give me updates when it's going through.
Yeah, and we'll let you know too as well, Josh. But the thing is, on January the 20th, it was passed in the House. Now we just need to wait for the Senate, to vote on this. And then when it's all agreed upon, then it goes to President Biden, to sign the bill. And, again, our app is, linked to this too as well, ensuring that they have this Battle Buddy app so that they can press that button at any given time. And we'll be here for them pretty much. It is so risky for them because there's no handbook for them to be a civilian. They're expected to know how, and that's where the difficulty is for them.
It really is. Like I was mentioning earlier, where I asked William, and he's just like, the hardest part is they don't train you to be a good civilian. They train you to be a good killer, but that's about it.
Yeah. I mean, and I really hate to say it too, as well. Josh, it is true, and so when I tell this to because I'm a therapist, okay, and we are very soft and, empathetic and things like that. And, many of them know I do have a military background, and I'm just like, you guys are aware that I am trained to kill. Right. And I mean, you see silence and they're just like, what? It's like, and I said that is the truth. It's when I leave during my service time, I'm out to protect my country. And my job is to make sure, first of all, first and foremost, my medics and, my medical teams are, in safe hands. But we are trained, regardless of what our profession is and what we serve in the military, we go through an extensive training of how to kill. We do.
Yeah, it's plain and simple. It's the way we explain it. In a lot, I've trained with a few vets, and they've said the same thing. And I said, we train if you can disengage the problem. If they want your wallet, just give it to them. It's not worth it. You can call up the government, get a new ID, and all that, cancel your credit cards. But like, same with phones. Nowadays, it's actually even great if they take it. You can, that's their house. Okay, so we're gonna call the cops and send them over there, kind of thing. But I said, but if they ask for your life, take theirs because you can't get yours back.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's plain and simple. If they get to that point, just take it.
Yeah.
Deal with the courts later.
I absolutely agree. It's just like I said, so again, our mentality is different. And that's kind of where, like I said, I'm very supportive of this, of this act, because there needs to be some, training and really giving them that smooth transition. Because again, it's going to be cyclical. The suicide rate is going to continue to increase. It's not going down anytime soon. We got homeless. I mean, if you go down to LA, where the VA, the West LA Veteran Center, I mean, you see down I can't remember, on Veteran Boulevard Street,
something like that. Yeah,
it's literally like filled with homeless individuals, and they're all veterans, and they like it there. It's their own little community.
Yeah, because it's all fellow brothers and kind of thing. Yeah. Brothers and sisters.
And they're used to that. We're used to living that way. Sometimes out in the back. Sometimes we don't even have a tent. Sometimes we're sleeping standing up.
I still don't know how you guys do that.
We can sleep anywhere. It's like, that's why, for the January 6th, insurrection. And then, later they had all these soldiers, brought in, these National Guards. And some people were complaining that, leaving our soldiers, in the garage. We're just like, okay.
Actually, a vet told me, he's like, the only part that was annoying for the vets is that there was only one toilet and there were 7,000 of them. That was the only annoying part.
Pictures of them being sleeping in the White House. I mean, in Washington D.C., at the Capitol. That is the bomb. I mean, I'm telling you, it's like our living condition when we're out in the battlefield. It's nothing to brag about. It's like, we have MREs. I mean, those
things are hard to eat. I went on a camping trip with my father. That thing is like a brick in you.
Yeah, I mean, it's like 5,000 calories, and it will make you constipated, for like 5 days. Yes. That's his job. The job is to give us, enough calories to go on and, to hike or, to do our job. And so again, civilians looking at like this, like, we're treated so badly. We have to sleep in the garage. We have to sleep at the Capitol, on the floor. And, the conversation among us veterans is, or among the military is like, yep, that is luxury for us.
The vet was joking with me that earlier, and he's like, oh yeah, he's like, I saw the photos of that too. And he's like, that guy in the corner was really lucky. And I'm like, why? He's like, there was a pillow under his head. I'm like, but he was standing. He's like, that is luxury, my friend. I'm like, wow. Yeah. I don't even know what that means.
You just, like I said, it's like, as when you're trained as a warrior, it's like, there's, we don't complain about those stuff. Like I said, it's that's why it's like for us veterans, it's like when people complain, we're like, oh my gosh, my Starbucks is not hot enough, or we're just, to me it's like big deal. That's for us it's a very different mentality, different culture, and different training. And so again, why is it so hard for us to be a civilian? We don't get civilian.
No,
my veterans don't understand. My veterans will complain like, It's like, you guys are so slow. It's like, why do you guys take like an hour for a lunch break? What do you guys do? I mean, because we're not taught that way. Not a very,
not at all.
Like, different mentality. So
one of my coworkers, he works, he doesn't work for, he is in the guard. And that's one of them. He told me he got dragged out to the insurrection. And I pretty much asked him, like, what's your take on it? He's like, honestly, he's like, it's one of those, there's no right or wrong answer, but he's like, he said something to the effect of, he's like, he's more worried about COVID than anything else. And I'm like, oh, getting it? He's like, no, a lot of veterans don't want to get vaccinated. And if they don't, he's like, there's some people we know that have been in the service for 28 years. They won't get vaccinated. They're going to lose all 28 years and more. And he's like, just in California alone. And I'm like, ooh, yeah, that would suck.
Seriously, they were discharging, soldiers because they were not wanting to get vaccinated. So that's pretty serious. But the thing is, again, I support, the vaccine, and
right.
Even though, it hasn't been out that long. It's, it's reducing the hospital rate, it's helping millions. And again, there's some cases that I've heard that, has complications, but that's one in a million,
It really is. Like for me, I got COVID, the earlier strain in like December 2020. So I got like the classic COVID lungs, and I'm the guy that I'm same thing, no bullshit, just tough through it, squint, rest later. But even with that lung, I'm like, man, I can barely walk down the block, and I'm suddenly sitting here puffing like I ran a marathon. And my genetics are more built for fighting stuff like COVID. It's silly to say, but and I joked with my father afterwards. I'm like, I could see where people die from this. Like, I probably, if it wasn't for my immunity, I probably would have been taken out too.
Yeah.
And the reason I even knew I had COVID, I worked night shift, janitor job. This crew came in, and I had a little bit of fever, but again, I'm like, just woke up, didn't have enough coffee, kind of thing. By the end of the day, I'm convulsing on the floor, shaking like a dog. Everyone's yelling at me to get to work, and I'm just like dragging myself throughout the whole place. Finally, my boss pulls me aside. Oh yeah, if we think we have COVID, you might want to go home. And I'm like, that would have been nice to know like 3 hours ago when you were yelling at me. Yeah.
No, absolutely. When COVID, at its early stage in 2020, absolutely, there was a lot of fear behind everything, in terms of, are we going to, this pandemic is just literally taking over and people are dying. And it was a very scary thing. It was affecting children, the school were closing. So 2020 was a very hard year, and everything was shutting down and everybody was in isolation. And, again, talking, because we're talking about veterans, more isolation for them is a higher suicide rate.
It's dangerous because, again, they don't have anyone like your battle buddy to call and be like, this is what I'm thinking. And it'd be like someone like you or another one, just be like, you dumbass, don't think about that. We got to, let's go to something else. What do you like to do for fun, kind of thing?
Yeah. No, absolutely. And so, like I said, it's just, we're really excited about this Battle Buddy app. We're very excited about continuing to really make sure that our veterans are taken care of and, to really reduce the suicide rate. With this Battle Buddy app, we're only in our first phase, but we're releasing it, but we still have a lot of things that we're going to add in terms of the bells and whistles. Making sure that, it's everything, and we're going to get feedback. I'd like to, in the next couple of years, go international, because I know that our soldiers live abroad. And they're very lonely out there too, as well. It's very difficult to be on deployment and be away from your family for so many months at a time, and not knowing whether you're going to return back home or not safely.
Oh, it's very important. I mean, it's one of those, as I'm sitting here, there's actually a vet when I worked security. It sounded silly. Well, okay, looking back, I can see why they called me, but they just pretty much called me in. They're like, hey, like, we'll call him Michael. I don't really remember his name. Like, Michael is kind of losing it in the corner in the break room. And I knew, because I was chatty, introvert, but I love chatting with people from a distance though. And I knew for a while he was a vet. Just the way he held himself, he was rough, short, blunt. Like, he's a vet kind of thing. So they called me in, and I pretty much they dropped where this warehouse was a lot of metal that they were moving around. So however, this one piece of metal hit the other, it sounded like 2 gunshots went off. and he lost it. He was in the corner crying, calling for a sergeant. I said, pretty much I ran in like, soldier, you're fine. There's nothing going on. And he just sat there, and I pretty much had to address him like that. And I walked him off because they were ready to call the cops. I'm like, don't call the cops. That's going to make it worse. They have guns. He's going to trigger even harder. And they pretty much got him to calm down. I said, go home for the rest of the day. As he's walking out, he told me, he's like, I'm going to get fired for this. I'm like, I hope not, but you did scare a lot of people.
That's an interesting story.
And it was just one of those, he's like, thank you. He's like, I know you're not a soldier, but thank you. That really helped. I'm like, but it's the only way I can address you. Soldier.
Oh my God, what a great story. What a great story. Yeah. So Josh, is there any other questions that you would like to know, or, about this Battle Buddy app and about the military culture? I'm pretty sure, you have a good, idea now.
Oh, I'm going to say, especially for you and a couple other people, I'm got a much clearer idea. Well, the reason I brought that story up, it would have been nice to have that for him. But crazy old little Josh ran in. I'm more curious about the culture, the development, and how the process of how you build a camaraderie. Everyone I've asked, they're like, it's just kind of how the system is. I'm pretty sure you could better explain it.
The thing is, the camaraderie comes from a place where, again, this is, you spend, when an individual decides that they want to join the military and become a soldier, they are around other soldiers a lot, and you're placed in squads. There's platoons, and then there's also the squad. And so within the squad, that's your teammate pretty much. And on deployment, you're gone and you're far away from your families and your friends. And so when you're on deployment, this is your family pretty much. And because of our training, we are conditioned, conditioned every single day, running and hiking, a rucksack and things like that. And so we rely on our teammates, our squad, to be there for each other and to lift each other up. And that's why we start calling each other brothers and sisters, especially out in the battlefields when it's very dangerous, and it's all about trust. It's all about, that level of trust that we need to have with each other. And so that's why when I said earlier, if one of our brothers or sister, we see, them hurt or see them get injured, you're going to see 9 of us run in a fire and, try to save them without even thinking of ourselves. Right. And so that's where the camaraderie is built. And it really comes from a place of, because, we're gone away from our families and our friends. And this is the only family that we have, especially in a very unsafe situation. We train together. The training is not easy. I mean, we're out in the fields and in the hot sun, sometimes 130 degrees with our, our gears and stuff like that in the middle of the desert. So we rely on each other with safety, with our life. And that's why it's this brother and sister bond. And I know that if I was out in the battlefield, if something, if I fell down, I know 8 of my guys will run after, and make sure that they carry me back home, regardless of, putting their life on the line or anything like that. And so that, when we transitioned out of the military, we still have that mentality, and that mentality still exists. Like this mentor team for my Battle Buddy app, because I've worked with them and I've known them in my military years, it translates them into, my civilian life. We're still of service to our veterans and the armed forces. We're just out of uniform right now. I still have my hat, but, but the thing is, again, these mentors that I brought on, is that is still that camaraderie. I can reach out to them and says, hey, I need you guys to do this. And boom, the next day it's done. There's no question asked. That's that level of trust right there. I got their back. They got my back at all times.
100%. Mm-hmm. So what I was trying to go for is the how do you instill that though? Was it through the rigorous training, through the boot camp that it
Yeah,
was instilled?
yeah, absolutely. The rigorous boot camp, I mean, relying on each other, and actually being out in the battlefield and knowing that your life is on the line. And so, like I said, and there needs to be that level of trust right there. It's in, and that's where the brother sister camaraderie comes in. They become your family pretty much, because you're gone away from your family of origin right there, and you're gone for several months, 9 months to a year, and these are your family, that will watch out for you and will take, and make sure that your life is protected.
Okay.
So that's where, again, that strong camaraderie. And even if I never knew that veteran, that soldier, and he's in a different unit, because we've gone through the same training, he's still my brother, and I will always make sure, if something happens to that stranger that I've never met or talked, because we've gone through the same process and everything like that, same mentality, I got his back, and he doesn't know me. If something was to happen, he's got my back.
That's interesting. That type of mindset's very rare in general, especially in a civilian.
Yeah.
That's where I'm trying to wrap it. Cause for me, I same thing. A lot of people know of me, like, well, I'm the strong back. So everyone calls me for moving. They know, promise Josh $20 for gas and a burger and he'll move your whole house kind of thing. Like no ifs, ands, or buts. And I'm just thinking, but that's how I was raised. It's just like, if someone like close, you know them, just reschedule a couple events and go do it. And I'm just thinking, a lot of civilians don't have that mindset.
Yeah. And even now today, like I said, because, I have about 2,000 veteran followers on my Facebook,
That's
and
good.
and some of them are still active duty, but many of them are veterans. They don't know me, but they will reach out to me. Sometimes I get calls. I'm like, who are you? He's like, I'm your brother. I'm like, okay, what can I help you with? Because again, we have that same training and that same mindset. They trust me because they know I'm a veteran and they know I've gone through what they've gone through. They feel more comfortable talking to me. This is why it doesn't work with the suicide hotline, because it's all run by civilian.
Yeah. I was going to say, I got lucky with those 2 incidences I mentioned throughout this, but I'm like, I know if I was there, I wouldn't be able to talk people the way they're thinking. As I'm trying to rationalize your thoughts right now, I'm like, again, the biggest key point I'm missing is I wasn't actually there to do it. I can study it. I can be a great philosopher and whatever, but I was never there to do it. So I don't know what that means.
Yeah. But like I said, the more that we can educate the public, in terms of individuals who are not aware about the military world, and, I mean, there are many people who's also educated and well adverse with the culture in the military, but there are some that's very naive. And those are people that we hope to also reach to and help to understand about the camaraderie, about the brotherly, sisterly bond that we have with each other, and the trust that we have for one another. Even if I don't know who you are, if I know you're a veteran, if I know you served, you're my brother, you're my sister.
Yeah, no ifs, ands, or buts. What's the only question would be, what can I do?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's
Perfect.
that's how my veterans are. My mentors. It's like, what can we do? Well, how can we be of service? And they show up every single time, no matter what. I never have to worry about them.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. Again, civilian, I don't know. I feel like this has been like the whole episode. It's just like, I'm a civilian. I don't know.
I think, I think just learning and just asking questions, because then you can learn, and then you will know. And then again, this documentary that we're coming out with, it's called A Warrior's Journey. And Jared Hale is the one who is, directing this. And I hope to have him on your show, and he can talk a little bit more about the journey of, of an individual joining the military during and talking about their service time. And, and really enduring physical wounds and mental health wounds, losing their legs. We got a couple of our veterans who are double amputees that joined and then got blown up by an IED. But still, they stay so positive, even as a veteran, and they continue to inspire, other veterans to really, continue to push forward. So,
no, it's a very important thing that you're doing, and it's sadly taken to this point where the body count is so high that it's like we can't ignore it anymore.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's literally like 20, it's beyond 22 a day, and so we're looking about, close to about, 10,000 a year,
that's too many.
It's, one is too many. And so
it really is.
This Battle Buddy app is the goal, is to reduce the suicide rate. And we're hoping to eliminate it for sure with anybody using this app,
Right.
And so, yeah. Josh, I have to bounce right now because I gotta head into my office shortly here.
Perfect.
But it was so nice talking to you. And, again, anytime you want to interview me, and talk a little bit more about our military and our armed forces and our veterans, I'm more than happy to speak on it.
Wonderful. Definitely will take you up on it in the future. Well, congratulations. You made it to the end. You're an awesome person. Not many make it here. So, being the awesome person that you are, can you do me one more awesome favor? Can you rate and review this on whatever podcast services you're using? If you do it on Apple, and you leave an actual written review, I have a thing on my website. I will take your written review and post it for all to see. Congratulations, you're permanently sealed on my site. Otherwise, I am trying to do YouTube more and live streaming. I will try to put as many of the YouTube links in the description of the show as I can. So give your boy some extra help over on YouTube. Watch my videos. I just mute it and change the channel. Change the window or something. But yeah, that's it. Thank you for being awesome, and see you next time.